Okay. So what I'd like to do for this first Q&A session is if either of you have questions that you want to talk about right now, we can. Like Megan, if you have any questions, feel free to unmute or you can put it in the chat box and we can answer. And then if you don't have any questions, I'll just go through Whitney's list and pick out the ones that I can talk about and we will go from there. And then I'll throw in a couple other little things too. Yeah, no problem, Whitney. Yeah, so Megan, if you have anything, let me know. If not, totally fine. Throw them in the chat or you can unmute and let me know. And then let's see what we got here. Okay. I'll give you a sec if you want to type anything out. And then let me just pull this list up from my email if I can. Okay. Okay. What are we thinking? Megan, you got anything?
Yeah, and I just had my nails done, so I can't type.
That's okay. Let's talk. Go
Okay.
for it.
When you said to like practice the clairsentience or feeling, I'm not really sure. I mean, I know what that means, but I'm not sure how to do that.
Okay.
Or like,
So there are a couple of ways that you can go about this. It's a little tricky with clairsentience because the whole point of the exercise is you want to be accessing that space that you probably were feeling into when we were doing the psychic games on Wednesday. So you're wanting to kind of like get sensations, especially for you, where you were kind of feeling them more in your body, which is totally a clairsentient like thing. So what I would do is you can actually simplify it if you want and go straight for I'll give you this one meditation. And this is I believe this is a like a Taoist like Chinese meditation actually, but it works well with clairsentience because what you're doing is it's called the inner smile meditation. So you're accessing that clairsentient space by basically feeling in your body joy and like holding it in your stomach and literally imagining the feeling of there being like a smiley face in your stomach. I know it sounds a little crazy, but that is how you can start to access that space manually. So what you're wanting to do with the clairsentient exercise really is just manually go through different feelings of either emotions or like physical feelings if you also want to do that. So I would start with the inner smile meditation because I think it is easiest to understand. And when you're sitting there, joy is something that we all have experienced at least once in our lives. So that's an easy feeling to hold in that space. And really, what you're doing is you're just trying to, one, again, kind of get back in touch with your body and the sensation of feeling that. And also, because you are more clairsentient, clairsentient people are going to use the heart chakra and the solar plexus the most when you're doing your work. So you're going to feel that these sensations come on in your solar plexus, which is right above your belly button. So that's where you want to be focusing on in these meditations. I know it's kind of a weird exercise when I'm telling you to like go through different emotions. So start with the inner smile meditation and do the joy like feeling and just try to hold that. Like, think of a memory that either brings you a lot of joy or actually sit and like focus on that area where your solar plexus is. And the inner smile meditation is literally imagining a smile and joy filling up that space and then just kind of like expanding through the rest of your body. Um, I think that would be maybe a good place to start. Does that make sense? Or do you have anything else that you were struggling with that?
No, nope, that
Okay.
does make sense, and I took notes, so
Yeah,
thank you.
perfect. Yeah. And you can also, this is like a widely known meditation and they
Okay.
expand on it as well. So when you're first starting, what I would recommend is do the inner smile, and hold it in that area. And if you're doing 20 minutes, just try to get up to that amount where you're sitting with that. It probably will be a little bit more difficult in the beginning, but you'll get better and better as the weeks go on. But you can expand on it too, because it's a meditation that's been used for, honestly, I think hundreds, if not thousands of years by these like Taoist monks or something. So I would give it a shot, and just start simple. And then if you want to push yourself as the weeks go on, even past this course, you can look up Inner Smile Meditation and they'll walk you through the steps of like expanding it. But for
Okay.
you right now, focus on the solar plexus.
Okay,
Sound
perfect.
good?
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome. Any other things that you wanted to ask about, or was that the main one?
that was it. Thank
Okay,
you.
cool. Yeah, you're welcome. All right. So let's talk about Whitney. I'm going through your list. Let's talk about a couple of these questions that I got through email. Um, and then a couple of questions that I've answered before in past classes that might be relevant to both of you, and to everybody watching this back. So, Um, the first question, Whitney, I'm gonna make you go back and read the psychic guidebook that you got, because and also look at the one of the first videos that we go through in this course where we're talking about connecting with your higher self and like playing with your spirit guides, because the first question is how can I better connect with my higher self or spirit guides? So number one is I would go back and watch the week, I believe it was week 2, where we talk about your spirit guides and how to start playing with them, with the numbers, with the symbols, and asking them for gifts and things like that. The reason I threw that in for week 3 was honestly because this is something that you're going to continue building with them as your relationship with your guides and your higher self gets stronger, where you're asking for a sign, you get the sign, and then you get confirmation that, oh, I am really connected to my higher self or my guides. Like they're really there. So that's the whole point of the week 2 lecture. And I even think I have some stuff in the psychic guidebook about it. I can't remember quite if it's like exactly everything I talked about in the video that's in the guidebook, but I would go back, rewatch that video, and start to actually use some of the things that we talked about in that video to connect and build that relationship. So, for example, use it on a really mundane thing. Like, um, I would ask about, like, if I was trying to choose between like two jobs, let's say right now, and one job I was like, this is a great opportunity, but this is also a great opportunity. What I would do is I would either assign a symbol or a number to both of them. And I would say, Spirit guides, please send me this number, make it long and weird. Please send me 00792344. If I'm meant to, take this job, please send me 876345, whatever, if I should take this job. And then literally forget about it, write it in your notes app or in your journal so you don't forget which number goes to which thing. And you can use this for any choice. It doesn't have to be jobs. It can be, should I move? Should I do this career? Should I do this career? You can use it for anything. Um, but I would recommend using it for like mundane things first to build your confidence and get that confirmation from them before you do it for like the big life things like which job should I choose? Um, I would use it for like, should I go on a trip to Florida, this place in Florida, or should I go to this place and do that instead? Um, because it puts less pressure on you to like be looking for the sign that comes through or the confirmation that comes through. And number two, when you do the little things, like I said in that second lecture, you're building that relationship up. And so then once you ask about the big things, you have more confidence when you get the sign and you're trusting that what the sign you're receiving is actually them and you're not just making it up. That's the whole reason I have people start with the little things first, asking questions about, like, what should I make for dinner tonight? Spaghetti or, a turkey bowl? Like, make it can be something so insignificant and they'll still respond to you. And that's the way to build that confidence in them and get that confirmation so that when you do ask about the job or you do ask about the person or the move or X, Y, or Z, you have confidence that they've responded 10 times already about spaghetti for dinner and all these other things, that they will show up when the big things come up for you. I hope that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Whitney.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, that was probably a stupid question. I don't even know if
No,
I wrote it down,
no,
to be
not
honest.
not stupid at all. I think that's a huge question that everybody like wants to know how to connect better with your guides and your higher self. And it's just opening that conversation and
Yeah.
having those conversations and interactions every day or every couple times a week will help to build that relationship. You have to start thinking of it as like you are a co-creator with your team. And if you need confirmation, it's okay to ask things. And then once you get the responses, you'll feel more confident asking about
Yeah.
other stuff. Does that make sense?
I actually did ask two things,
Okay.
and I got an answer for both of them.
That's right.
Um,
Yes.
so I think I'm
Great.
just being a little bit impatient. I don't
Yes.
know, but I did get my answer, and um, I think it was kind of probably a bit of a big thing to ask them for,
Yeah.
but I had asked. So basically, I have to move, and I asked, will I move out by the end of my tenancy?
Ooh,
I said, for yes, can you show me a pink elephant?
that's a good one.
And then I forget what I said for no, but I forgot about it. It was fine. And then I think it was like 2 days later. I think it was actually um on the Wednesday of the week two or the week three that I got the answer. And I,
Oh
wa- I
my
was going
God.
to say it to you, but then I didn't. I completely forgot. But I was on Instagram and a friend from work, he's away and he was at
Hmm.
Tomorrowland and he put up this picture and there was a pink elephant.
Stop it.
Yeah, and I was like, hey, that's it. That's it.
That's see, that is what I'm saying about make it weird. That is like the perfect example of pushing spirit to meet you with the level of complexity that you want to be met at. Because a
Yeah.
pink elephant, I don't think I've ever seen a pink elephant ever in my entire life, not even being
Yeah.
like dramatic, but like never. And so the fact that you picked something weird and spirit still answered and it was
Yeah.
2 days later
Yeah, it was
express
crazy.
delivery, that is the perfect example of like your team's around, work with them more. Like that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. No, it was
Wow.
really cool. And then I also asked about a gift and I had used your example,
Hmm.
but I had asked, could I have a gift for like myself and my boyfriend to like go for a meal or something like that.
Cute. Yeah, cute.
And um we were driving and we stopped and I just happened to see money on the ground.
What?
So
Are
so
you kidding?
my boyfriend got out of the car and he picked it up and it was like I thought it was just 20 euro. Um but it wasn't. It was actually 40 euro.
So like the perfect amount for a dinner?
Yeah, it was squished together and then we felt so bad because we didn't know like whether to like knock on people's doors and be like, is this yours?
No, no.
Um,
That's
so
amazing.
so we kept it, and then I just like cried because I was like, that is amazing. That has to be them.
That
And I
is
was so
them.
grateful. Yeah, I was so grateful.
Yes. Yes, I love that. So just make sure you say thank you, but like obviously you got
Yeah.
like express delivery going on.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. Like they're obviously, first of all, anybody that's in this course, your guides are ready to work with you. You're in this course for a reason. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like there's a reason. So the fact that they answered so quickly too is amazing. And the second thing is like it's just nice to know that they were kind of like random things that
Yeah.
confirm to you. So I'm hoping that that's building your trust in them to when you go at, and you kind of push them in the beginning anyway. You asked about something really big for yourself,
Yeah, I
about your
probably shouldn't have.
move, and made the signs like so weird that
Yeah.
it pushes spirit, but spirit is an intelligent like thing. It's an intelligent energy, and it will
Yeah.
respond and match us wherever we push it to. Like that's one thing that I always encourage you to do when you're going along your journey is push spirit. Push them to do something weird or out there or something that you don't think could actually happen. Like a pink elephant is crazy,
Yeah.
and they will, I mean, they'll confirm in their own way because it's an intelligent enter it's, oh my God, I can't say it. It's an intelligent energy. So that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing those examples. How
Thank
inspiring
you.
is that? Um, but that's basically how you do that. You just do that all the time. Say thank you when you get the confirmation. And then you can continue asking things and working with them in that way. That's their whole job is to work with you and to help guide you and bring you confirmation because they have a bird's eye view of your experience. Whereas, if you think about it as kind of like if you're out on a field and you're looking ahead, but there's like a hill blocking your view a little bit, and they're up in like the watchtower, they can tell you what's ahead for you if there's a river, if there's, rocks, sharp, objects, if there's an army ahead, if there's X, Y, or Z. Like they can see that because they're in the watchtower. So don't be afraid to use them to help shift your perspective or to help bring you confirmation for life stuff because that's their whole job. But you have to ask them for them to engage with you because most guides will be hands off and let you do your own thing because we have free will
Yeah.
until you want to engage with them. So, so excited for you. Thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for sharing. What a great story.
Thank
Um,
you.
oh my God, amazing. You should continue using them and working with them. Also, make sure you're journaling things like this so you don't forget in the
Yeah.
future. Incredible.
Thank
So,
you.
are there any of the other questions that you're like really dying for me to answer? I have a couple. I'm not doing any readings or anything, but oh, I know what I wanted to talk about. I liked the shadow work question. So I'll go into that unless you have another question that you'd like me to talk about first.
You know that one's fine.
Okay, let's talk about shadow work because even though I don't go into it super in depth, it's actually crazy. I'm working on a shadow work like course and like free masterclass right now. So keep your eyes out for that because that's literally my next project. I have it named and everything. Um
Is that the cosmic? The
no,
cosmic?
that is a
Oh,
manifestation one, but this
oh,
one so crazy. This one came to me like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, I have to talk about shadow work. Like, I've done so much shadow work. People don't
yeah.
know what it is, people don't know how to use it or work with it. And it can be really life-changing, not just for your spirituality, but just for like how you emotionally and physically feel in general. So let me talk about that really quick because your question was, what role does shadow work play in spiritual development? So for people that don't know, shadow work is just looking at the darker side of like our thoughts, our fears. It's going into what has made us feel shame. Sometimes it's digging into traumas. Sometimes it's digging into and dismantling, structural or societal racism and working to be anti-racist every day in our lives. There's things around, sexual feelings, like not feeling shame about embracing your sexual side and all of these things. So shadow work is really just one big word for when you look at like the light and love side of like light workers who are doing readings and doing healings and all of this stuff. All of those people have also done shadow work because shadow work is the deeper parts of our psyche and going back and unraveling things that we may have gone through in our past that have subconsciously wired us to feel fear, shame, grief that we haven't moved, distrust in ourselves or our abilities, low self-esteem. It's like such a broad term. That's why it can be so hard to figure out like where to start with it. It's also massively focused on inner child healing. So thinking about when you're growing up, all of the things that you kind of take on from your parents or being around your family, even if they were good parents or not a lot of craziness happened in your childhood, you still probably have a lot of inner child work to do in general if you haven't dug into that. But the whole basis for shadow work is really just going after those like subconscious limiting beliefs that have been ingrained in us through our childhood into our teenage years, things people have said to us that we've held on to, maybe subconsciously, things that we haven't wanted to confront because they're scary. That's kind of what it is. Okay. So, shadow work is a lifelong journey. As much as I would, love to just put out a course and be like, this is it, you complete the course and you are done and you don't have to do shadow work anymore, it's not like that. I've been doing shadow work since, God, I don't even know, since I really started beginning to do readings in general. And it's a continuous journey. You will always be on, it's like a big ball of yarn that's like knotted and tied up and it's like stuck together, and you just pick one string, you go at that, you try to unravel it the best you can and you take it out and then you go after another. So it's a journey of rewiring your thoughts, being there for yourself, learning how to comfort your inner child, um and helping to rewire any like, I don't want to say emotional damage, but like emotional things and emotional imprints that have been placed on us, that we've placed on ourselves, stuff like that. So it's it's extremely important in your spiritual development outside of just doing readings. It's something that will start to bubble up for you as you go about your healing journey or your spiritual journey. And if you're in this class, you probably have noticed some things come up. Um, whether it's in the class already or it's been before the class, it's when you notice like a feeling of shame wash over you, or a feeling of you're not good enough, or a feeling of um, getting really overwhelmed emotionally and you're not really sure how to regulate yourself. Those are all things that shadow work helps with. Um, so it's kind of this, again, it's this like rewiring thing that you go on for your whole life. It's always confronting new things that pop up. But the reason it's so important in your spiritual development is because if you are pushing down shame, if you are pushing down fear, especially with spiritual work, fear is such a conditioned emotion that we experience, especially with like all of the media noise around spiritual abilities, all of the religious noise around being psychic, being intuitive, being damned if you're a medium or a psychic, like all of that stuff can subconsciously be affecting you. And when you start to confront it and regulate yourself and tell yourself, like, I'm safe to do this work. I am, I'm really walking my path and helping people and doing all of this stuff and affirming to yourself that like these are the right things to be doing. If that's your path, which if you're in this course, of course it is, then it will help to quell the fear and the shame and all of these things that come up specifically connected to our spiritual abilities. Now, a lot of people that have spiritual gifts do have, hopefully most of you believe in past lives, but if you don't, it's okay. Just take what resonates with you from this talk and please use your discernment. You don't have to agree with everything I'm saying right now either, but from the work that I've done and from developing my own beliefs in, my abilities and going through my own journey, I have noticed a lot of people that are alive right now opening up their spiritual gifts have been persecuted in the past for having spiritual abilities. Okay. So rewiring things from past lives even may start to come up as you go deeper and deeper into your shadow work. Now, this course is like skimming the top of the surface of like opening up, trusting yourself, making sure you know how to do readings and you're having the tools to continue your growth after this class. But if you want to deepen into yourself and your intuition, shadow work is 100% the thing to do. Um, One thing I will just say is that when you consciously start shadow work and you consciously make the choice to begin doing shadow work, the take breaks. I don't know what else to say. Take breaks. It can be really hard to just dive into your trauma or your past or your childhood or your teenage years or any of these like moments in your life where you're trying to rewire thoughts or limiting beliefs that have come up, it can get really tiring. So it is not a sprint through shadow work. That doesn't exist. That's like trying to just like run through darkness to the end. Like that's you're never going to get to the end. So if you need to take breaks from shadow work, which I do quite often because I've been doing this for over 10 years now, um, that it's important to take breaks and remember that like there's beauty in just living your life and going and having fun and going and getting ice cream and going for a walk with your dog, hanging out with a family member or a friend. Like make sure you're not going so far into the shadow work that you get lost or you start to relive your trauma. And that's something that I'm going to be going into, I think, in the little masterclass that I do. But it's imperative. It is imperative for your spiritual development, for deepening into yourself and your trust with who you are. So if you're craving that, then start to look into like inner child healing. There's always shadow work prompts now. It blew up on the internet a few years ago, which I thought was very interesting because we had a huge spiritual awakening a few years ago during COVID. So there's always shadow work prompts you can start to like look at to kind of get your mind going to what is shadow work and what does it actually mean. But hopefully that answers your question. It's not something I'm going to go into too deeply with this class just because this is more like tools for your development. How can you start to build that psychic muscle? How can you read for yourself and others? But it's definitely a key to getting really good because once you trust yourself and that fear gets quieter, I don't think it ever truly goes away, but your readings will skyrocket. Like they will take off for sure. So that is a great question. Thank you for asking that. And also the how do I release ancestral or karmic patterns has to do with shadow work. So if you want to deepen, start with the shadow work of this lifetime of your childhood, your limiting beliefs, how you feel about yourself, confronting the different feelings of fear, shame, guilt, low self-esteem, things like that, and then it will naturally start to deepen into ancestral patterns, karmic things, like they'll just start to pop up. So I hope that isn't too ranty. You're welcome. Thank you for asking that. Um, and then let me see. Oh, I really loved this question. What practices can help raise my vibration more consistently? I love this. So, there are a few ways to raise your vibration. And when we're talking about raising our vibration, we're not talking about like going through something really hard. Like, for example, I had this wonderful client who got a reading from me, and she had just found out that she was diagnosed with cancer. And she was on the call with me, and she was like, "I'm just trying to like." She had just found out the day before the reading that she, or I'm sorry, the week before the reading that she had cancer. And she was like on the call, like, I'm just trying to like be happy and be, whatever, but I just keep crying. And I was like, okay, it's okay to cry. I was like, don't push your emotions down because you think that's what it means to be high vibrational, because that's actually not correct at all. Like, I was like, that's called avoiding doing the work, because the work is feeling your emotions and learning how to regulate them and process them fully. It's knowing that you can go to the depths of that terrible, terrible sadness, be a couch potato for a week, and just be in the funk of feeling how terrible it feels to be diagnosed with cancer, and then pulling yourself back up and saying, I know I'm upset right now. I'm going to do the best to take care of myself in this circumstance. And I'm going to continue on and give myself grace through this process. That is true spiritual strength. Being able to say, I can go to that sadness or that negative emotion, and let myself be there and feel it and be there for myself. And then go back and start to kind of like live life and have grace. That is something that you don't want to do when you're trying to be high vibrational. You don't want to ignore the emotions that are coming up, because guess what? If you don't feel the emotions that come up, they will come up in meditation, they'll come up as anxiety, they'll come up as physical problems if you don't deal with them, they'll come up as discomfort that you can't pinpoint. Um so until you start to fully be able to like process emotions, you're you're going to be feeling this energy of like these weird emotions of like anxiety if you're not processing things when they come up. I hope that makes sense. So to be high vibrational is to let yourself feel the emotions, and then there are other things you can do. Meditating is obviously the best place to start, because when you're in meditation, the emotions will start to kind of like bubble to the surface, and then you can release them in meditation. And that in turn clears your aura of holding on to these things that you've been feeling. Like, let's say you, I don't know, let's say like this person, for example, didn't deal with the sadness that she felt when she was diagnosed with cancer. I don't know anybody that wouldn't cry getting that news. That's hard news. So if she hadn't dealt with the sadness and just tried to go on and be, happy and do her thing, that would have ended up coming up in other ways, like physically, emotionally, or as an underlying current of just like, I just don't feel very good. I just don't feel like right now. Um, so processing emotions is number one. Sorry to rant too much. Number two, um, you can do things like meditation, like I said. That's number two, really. And that will help to raise your vibration. The other thing that I think people don't think about is connecting to your physical body will help to move things. Like, dancing is like the best thing to shift your vibration to a higher level. Um, Dancing is great. Physical exercise will help to shift you because you're grounding yourself, and grounding any excess energies basically out of you by connecting to your physical body and giving it an outlet for all of this excess energy that you have. Um, so I love dancing. I love doing anything like exercise, physical exercise, stuff like that. Yoga is I know that that's like a cliche thing to say, and you're like, "Oh my god, of course you're going to say yoga." But after doing hundreds, if not thousands of aura readings, I always knew who was doing yoga, because they would come get a reading from me and their auras would look as clear as glass. It would be like colored glass. And I would be able to know that that person did aura without, or sorry, did yoga without them even saying anything, because of how clear their energy was. So, yoga is I think, slept on when you think about raising your vibration. Just because I think it has a stigma around it of like a little, the crowd can be a little snooty, a little uppity sometimes. Not everybody, obviously, but I think that people get intimidated by the culture of yoga. But in reality, yoga will absolutely transform your energy to a more high vibrational state. Music is great. Everybody's different. A lot of times, creative people will also be able to reach a higher vibration when they're doing something creative because they get into a flow. So anything that gets you into that like energetic flow is something that's going to raise your vibration a little bit. Let me read chat. Whitney says, I've gone to a healer before and worked through some things, but haven't done that in a good while. Some things I thought I worked through come up again, so I must not have dealt with certain things properly. Is that in regards to the shadow work? Because that is common. That is common. It's like an onion. You're peeling back the layers, even though it may seem like, yes, I've confronted that. I've talked about that so many times. I've done this. You're peeling back the layers. So you've talked about it, but have you actually like gone after the emotion at the root of that thing? If that thing made you feel shame, have you really looked at the shame and felt it in your body and moved through it with a person, with a therapist or with a healer or with somebody witnessing that? Or you can be your own compassionate witness to the emotion that comes up. There's a lot behind that. And if it's coming up over and over again, it could be that you haven't confronted the actual root emotion of that thing, or two, it could be connected to past life stuff that could be kind of coming up as well. And until you go back and clear the past life trauma that's attached to whatever happened, sometimes it can take a little bit longer for you to fully clear it. I've had a couple of things happen with that too. So just go back, confront the emotion first, see if you've actually felt it at the deepest level, name it, you can even make it like a shape or a color in your mind as well. Say that you see it. There's like a whole somatic process you can go through. And then if that still doesn't clear it, um, you might have some sort of past life thing coming into play there. So just something to keep in mind. But going back to raising your vibration, those are the main ones that I would do is meditation, doing something physical exercise. Dancing is a great one. Turn on some music, dance your butt off. That will shift your vibration. Yoga's great. Doing things that just kind of like make you happy or make you feel joy, that's a high vibrational state. But it's not a state that you need to be in all the time. So don't, spiritual bypass all the other emotions down here just because you think you need to be high vibrational all the time. It's not real. It's not a real thing. If anybody tells you that you're supposed to be happy all the time, it's not it's not real. Um and then I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, dancing and singing are great ways to connect to all of your chakras kind of at once because you're opening up your throat and expression, which is sometimes connected to your heart, and then the dancing part will connect your lower chakras and open them. It's so good. Sometimes I'll even do that before a reading to just kind of like raise my vibration a little bit, or after a reading to ground myself. So, let me see what else we've got. You also asked, how can I protect and cleanse my energy from others? Go back and look at the psychic guidebook, go through and look at the cleansing chapter and the protection chapter and choose one or two and start to do them consistently and see if that helps. Um, and then there's two more that I'll do. There's one that is wait, where did it go? How do I know if I'm meant to be a healer, teacher, or guide? So, if you're in this course, you probably have a little bit of all of these. But if you hear the word teacher and you freak out because you're like, oh my God, I don't want to talk in front of people, that's okay. But most of the people that are going to be drawn to me and the courses that I offer are going to naturally have healing abilities, or the ability to help guide people. That's why you're in the course, because you're wanting to learn how to connect to your intuition and connect to other people for readings to guide them. That's that's a good sign that you are meant to be a guide for people if you want to do readings. So I would just ask yourself, you know, what makes me the most excited to think about doing? Do I get more excited thinking about doing healing sessions with crystals or having somebody on the table and doing energy work on them and then them getting up and feeling amazing? Do I feel more excited thinking about doing readings for people that are feeling very uncertain or lost in their path at the moment and being able to offer them guidance? I don't know why I'm having a hard time speaking right now. I'm so sorry. I'm like stumbling over my words so much, but um if you get excited thinking about doing readings and offering people guidance through the readings and giving them that sense of like relief, showing them the paths ahead that they have for themselves, then you know that you're meant to be more of a guide. But a lot of times people will be kind of all of them, okay? So I have gone through, this is the fun part about your spiritual journey. This is the part that you get to play with and explore. And I encourage you to shift your mindset to think of it like an adventure and a journey, because that's what it is, where you're starting in this course right now to learn how to guide people through readings, but that may expand to you doing like in-person like healing sessions, or maybe you get excited about the thought of learning how to do like a sound bath thing for a group of people. Like this is what you are meant to do on your spiritual journey, is like go out and play. I've done Reiki. Reiki, if you don't know, is like an energy healing modality that you get attuned to by a master teacher, and then you can channel like healing energy through your hands. I did that. Do I do Reiki anymore? No, but it was a pivotal part of my journey to basically like blast my spiritual abilities open even more than they were. Um, it's how I really got into mediumship and being able to feel spirit. So Reiki is a good place to start. Um, I then started doing aura readings and seeing people's energies, and I would draw their auras, and then that evolved into doing psychic readings. And then as I got really good at doing both of those, I started doing card stuff because I was like, what else makes me excited? Started working with cards, started getting really good at like doing readings with cards. And then I started doing mediumship because my abilities just like naturally evolved that way. I have done a bunch of classes on crystals. I've done a bunch of classes on, I went to school for acupuncture and energy work, basically. Like acupuncture is working with the energetic channels in the body, plus like a science mind too. It's like amazing. So this is the point, is like you don't have to like nail down if you're like a guide or a healer or a teacher. Throw away the labels and just let yourself naturally gravitate to whatever makes you excited. If it excites you to think about teaching a class, then by all means write down what you know and get it on paper and then put it out there. Um the other thing too is like there are so many healing modalities out there. If you don't like Reiki for whatever reason, you could go do a crystal healing class, and get a certification to start working in people's energies with different crystals, or doing sound healing or whatever. So open your mind to like the possibilities. That's the whole point of starting your spiritual journey, is like now you get to play and go about your journey exploring all of these different paths. So don't limit yourself to just a healer, teacher, or guide. What if you start to, do this class, you start to doing tarot, and then all of a sudden you pick up on, people's loved ones that have passed, and their information just starts coming through naturally. Just be open to the possibilities of these things happening because you'll naturally start to level up your abilities as you trust yourself and start to play more with your spiritual journey. I hope that helps. And then how do I distinguish between my intuition and my fear? I was going to go over this one more time because I did touch on it a little bit in one of the other classes. But let's talk really quick a little bit more about when I was talking about this in the other class. The way to tell between your intuition and your fear or your anxiety will always go back to the ability of your self-awareness to expand enough to trace your thoughts back in the beginning. I'll go into that in a second, but there are also key differences energetically between how fear feels and your logical mind feels and how your intuition feels. And a great way to kind of tell the difference between fear, your logical mind, or your anxiety, and then your true intuition is to reflect back on Wednesday when we did the psychic play and practice, or reflect back on any readings you've done if you've done readings before, and feel reflect on how it feels when you got things correctly on Wednesday. Did you feel it in your body? Did you get an image that was correct? Did you start to feel your thoughts like you were getting intuitive messages and then you could feel your thoughts kind of trail off into more logical stuff because you wanted to be right? Um Intuition is going to either feel instant. I keep doing a snap because that's kind of what it feels like to get an intuitive download, um, claircognizantly, clairvoyantly, clairaudiently, or sometimes even clairsentiently, like, you'll feel the color orange, and then your mind will come in and go, no, it's probably blue." But then the difference between those 2 things is that the first thought was a lightning quick, um, like, intuitive insight that you got. Kind of like a lightning bolt is kind of how I think of it, like a zap or a download or a intuitive hit is what I call it. Um, and then your logical mind will be more of like a rambly, like, "No, it's probably blue." Your intuition's not gonna say like, "It's probably this." It's gonna say orange. Do you see the difference between like orange comes through, orange, and it's probably blue? Like, that feels different, and that's gonna feel differently for you in your body if you're receiving it that way, or if you're receiving it more as, like, a clairvoyant, clairaudient message or a knowing, it's gonna be instant, okay? The other thing is when you're talking about tracing your thoughts back, this is something you can practice as soon as you get off this call. You don't have to, like, monitor your thoughts, that's not what I'm saying, but when you're driving in the car and you're thinking about, like, "What am I gonna make for dinner? Oh, I'm gonna make chicken and coconut curry, blah, blah, blah," and then you're like, "Oh, I remember when my mom made that a couple of, weeks ago, and it was really good, and it had this, this, this. I wonder how my mom's doing. I wonder if she's working on her garden." You're starting to you're going, "How did I get to thinking about a garden from my grocery list?" And then you take a second to pause and you go, okay, the garden. I was thinking about my mom. I was thinking about my mom cooking and being at her house. I was thinking about, oh, she cooked dinner, the chicken coconut curry. And then I was thinking, oh, the chicken coconut curry is what I'm going to have for dinner. And I was thinking about chicken on my grocery list. Do you see how you can kind of like go back a little bit and, like, trace the thought back. Now, I know that you're like, "That doesn't mean anything for me because like, that's just a thought," but the reason I'm asking you guys to become aware of that is because the more you can do that with a normal thought that you're having during the day, the better you're going to be able to tell if a thought is triggered by an anxiety or a fear. So I always do the driving in the car example. When you're driving in the car and you see a car swerve in front of you and you get a thought of there's going to be a car accident. Well, how do you know if that's your intuition trying to warn you about a car accident, or how do you know if there's actually going to be a car accident, or if it's your anxiety? So when you look at that thought breakdown, that's what I'm saying is you have to look back at the thought for a trigger. What triggered my thought of there's going to be a car accident? Because I've done this before to myself. When I was first starting out, I'd be in the car and I'd see somebody do a weird like move and I'd go, oh my God, there's going to be a car accident. But then I was like, is that my intuition or is that a thought? Is that my anxiety? And the reason you can tell it's your anxiety or your fear is if there is a trigger thought. The trigger for me was externally seeing the car, like, do a swerve, okay? Intuition is going to come out of like, nowhere. It's going to come out of nowhere, and it's going to be a little bit of a it's not gonna be like a "rah," like, "There's gonna be an accident." It's gonna be, like, more of a kind of like a whisper or a like a, I don't know how to describe it. Sometimes I feel like it's a lower volume thought that comes up like back here instead of like right in the front. It's like, "Ah, car accident." Intuition will be like car. Do you see what I'm saying? There's a difference in the energies with that. I'm hoping that this is making sense, but the reason you're wanting to be able to track things back is because when you have something come out of nowhere, and oh, it just happened to me. It literally just happened to me before this call where I was waiting for a call from, this department, and I was going out to get into my car, and out of nowhere, I was like, "Hmm," like, I thought about the lady, and any I didn't have any thoughts about this person before that time period. Like, I could trace my thoughts. There wasn't anything that had triggered that thought. And I go to get in my car and I look at my phone and she had called me. I had missed a call. So now, if I had been thinking, like, oh my God, we had a 2:30 call. Like, why hasn't she called me yet? Da, 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 this is crazy. Blah, blah, blah. And then I was getting in my car and then I saw she called me. That would be more of like an anxiety that just happened to line up with my intuition. But that's what I'm trying to get you guys to do is when you're going about your day, when you're driving, when you're in the shower, when you're doing when you're washing the dishes, when you're doing laundry, when you're in that kind of meditative state where your thoughts are just free flowing and you're just thinking about stuff, let yourself think about things. Get like a whole big thought and then start to trace it back. Well, why am how did I get on the subject of gardening? That's so crazy. Like, how did I think about that? Oh, I was thinking about like how pretty those flowers looked at that house. I was thinking about da 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 da, and I went all the way back to the beginning thought that triggered the whole chain of thoughts. And that will help you get more clear on your thoughts and how they feel versus intuition, which will just come in like out of zap. Okay. And a lot of times, too, the other way you can tell it's intuition is if I am a very stubborn person. Anytime I've worked with spirit, I have always pushed spirit because I believe no matter how hard you push spirit, and this is from my own experiences of being like, haha, you're not going to respond, spirit, to this. And then they do, it's my own learning experiences of pushing spirit is that if you um what was my point with that? If you argue with an intuitive download that you get, that's another way to know that it's your intuition and not your logical mind or anxiety. And what I mean by that is I'll talk about the grocery store example. When I was like, I went into the grocery store and I was like, help me find the coconut milk. And I heard international foods immediately. I didn't even have a second to think about it. And I went, international foods? Why would it be in the international foods aisle? It's milk. It should be refrigerated. It should be in the refrigeration section. Da, da, da. My logical mind came in and said, "Oh my god, this doesn't make any sense that it would be in the international foods aisle." And over here, the intuition was like, "We don't care. We're right." So you're having these things where you'll get an intuitive download and it might not make sense to your logical mind. You'll start to argue with it. Why would it be that? Why would it be in the international foods aisle? That was my sign when I first started developing that I for sure was getting an intuitive download. Or I would be sitting with a client doing an aura reading and something would zip in that didn't match what my logical mind perceived the person to be like, or perceived the person to have gone through, or perceived the person to have, done in their past. But I would know that the intuition was right or the intuitive download was right because I would literally be sitting there either pulling cards or drawing their aura color, and I'd stop and I'd go, "Hmm, like, that doesn't make sense to my logical mind." And I would know that that information was probably the most important piece of information to give that person because it didn't make it sense to my logical mind. And that's how you know it's intuition. If it doesn't make sense to your logical mind, you better tell that person that's sitting across from you because it might just be the biggest, best part of their reading. Um, if you're getting it like that. Does that make sense to everybody? I know that's a lot of information and a lot of kind of practices to do, but it will get so much easier as you start to just open your awareness up to how your thoughts work, how they start to lead to one another, and being aware of any download, any intuitive nudge, any intuitive zap or hit that you get that doesn't quite make sense to your logical mind. Those might be the most powerful intuitive downloads that you ever receive, okay? Because your logical mind's sitting there going, "That doesn't make any sense." Like, um, especially the international foods thing, that's one of my favorite stories because I literally stood in the grocery store and I was like, "That doesn't make sense. I'm gonna waste my time walking over to the international foods aisle, and it's not gonna be there, and then I'm gonna be mad because I listened to this and it wasn't real and da da da," all of this stuff. So just push spirit, play with your guides, and that will start to get easier to tell the difference between as you practice and as you start working and connecting more and flexing that sort of intuitive muscle and that psychic muscle, you'll start to understand what your intuitive voice truly sounds like or feels like compared to the logical side of your mind and what that feels like. Okay? All right. Anything else before we wrap it up? Anything come up while we were talking? Any other questions? Anything else about anything? Let me know. Okay. All right. I think we're going to wrap it up then. I hope this was helpful. This will be posted if you need to go back or you want to take notes or you didn't fully digest the first, time through. I talk very fast, I'm aware. I'm usually kind of channeling a little bit when I'm doing these videos. So if you need to go back and rewatch, or take notes or shoot me an email if anything comes up after you watch this, please do. Megan says, "Thank you. It was all very helpful." Good. I'm throwing a lot at you all. It's a lot of information to fit into 6 weeks. So just know that this is meant to be the real building block for you to kind of like jump off of into your spiritual journey. It's not meant to be like you're going to be incredible at the end. You're probably going to feel so much more connected to your intuition, but this is meant to be the main foundational building block for you to go jump off and explore other modalities, to explore more of what excites you, things like that for your journey. Okay. Yay, awesome. Okay, so nice to see both of you. Make sure, if you need anything, you shoot me a message. Get those readings done before Wednesday so I can give you some feedback. It's posted on the module 4. Um, And then the homework is the picture on the right-hand side. It's a download. So just set a timer, write down as much as you can about the person. I'll send you back feedback. It's also better because you're not sharing anything with anybody, so you can really get into the zone. And yeah, if you need anything, I'm here for you, and I will see you on Wednesday. All right.
Thank
Thank
Bye,
you.
you.
guys.
Bye bye.
Yeah, I'll see
Bye.
you. Bye.